Hello, gentle listeners, and welcome to another episode of Prima Nerd Podcast. My name is Nisa, and I am joined as always by my secretive co-host and cousin, Bella.
Hello, everybody.
And today we are going to we decided to talk about James Bond. We are going to be focusing on Skyfall, but we decided that we were going to tackle this brilliant and longest running genre in cinematic history. So we decided to follow with one of the ones that we really enjoyed with Skyfall with James Bond is the character with Daniel Craig as James Bond.
The not actor. Atual? It's
what? Actual. What are you trying to say?
Atual, I'm trying to say like today he is the James Bond.
The most recent, the current James Bond.
Yeah.
As of now, there's still one more movie to go, and then we're going to see who will be taking over.
Which is becoming a dilemma in the internet.
Oh, that's been going on for years, though. This discussion has been going on for years as to who should be the next James Bond.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, it's been going on for years. I've
in
heard
3 years, maybe.
We'll see.
First
off, the most recent one, No Time to Die, has yet to be released. It was supposed to be released, has yet to be released. So,
thank you, coronavirus.
Yeah, it's put a stop to the whole entire world. And also kind of, I have to say, it kind of makes this podcast interesting and a little difficult because there's not a lot of
new
stuff.
Recent release. Come on, we are hoping to talk about Wonder Woman, and
that got pushed back.
Where is Wonder Woman now? Yeah. So,
we decided
James Bond.
Because we're gonna pay homage to a classic.
Yes.
I like this movie. I like Skyfall.
I like this movie too.
I like it. It was very good.
Me too.
It takes a while to get into. If you're like, for example, if you've been like us watching a lot of superhero action movies, or in my case, watching a lot of things that aren't too heavy or too dramatic, you kind of focus on anything that are light and fluffy, and then all of a sudden you watch something like Bond. It requires a little bit more attention. Not that superhero movies don't require a lot, but they're designed to be a broader audience, right? They're supposed, especially the ones like for Marvel and stuff, are designed for kids to watch and a family to be able to understand. So there's a lot more humor. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of heart and very amazing characters. But it's not a super complex story that you have to focus on. Not saying that this is super complex, but the action surrounds the story, whereas usually you have the story surrounds the action. Like it's kind of like
true.
You have a lot more story, and then the action takes place. It's more of
It's more the action is in the surface.
Yeah,
and there is a big story that you have to pay attention to follow, to understand between the lines.
Yeah, it's
because not everything is said in the on screen.
And there's more information. There's more information you absorb through the dialogue, through the conversations. So it's just, it takes you a second to get into the mindset of, oh, right, we're not watching the same style of movies. We're watching something that requires a little bit more. Oh, right, we're going to focus. We're going to pay attention. We're going to have to. There's more to the story than just watching the awesome action scenes. There's more involved in the story. Again, not putting down action movies. I'm just saying, as a general, just you have a different mindset to watch these movies, which is great. But it just takes you a second to. Just takes you a second to be like, oh, right, we now have a different way of watching this. We have a different way of looking at it, which is fun, which is great. But it also takes you a second to be like, right, let's. Like I said, we were going to talk about
this kind of. I like this kind of movies.
Yeah, let's say, but then we're going to talk about V for Vendetta. We'd also have the same structure of like, it's not the same thing. It's not as happy-go-lucky. There's more depth to it that requires a little bit more focus. with that being said,
Mm-hmm.
I still love the movie. I remember, so it's been a while since I watched it, right? So I was watching it, and there's certain things that were happening, and I'm like, I'm watching, oh yeah, that's a callback somehow to the original. That's a callback to the original.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there, I'm going, wait, this was done for the 50th, this was done for an anniversary. And then I go back and I go, yes, it was done for a 50th. And then at the end it says 50th anniversary. But I've had that moment while watching the movie that I'm like, I've obviously seen this movie before, but I slowly put pieces together of what's going to happen or what's coming next. Like, I'm looking at the character of Eve, and I'm like, she's important. And then I'm like, oh yeah, she's Moneypenny at the end of the movie. It's like a whole.
Yeah.
It takes a second to realize when you rewatch the movie, because there's so much going on that you have to go, oh yeah, right. That makes sense.
Yeah. But the whole movie is a big homage to the story. Yeah, to the story of James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
You have the car. You have the when he's talking with Q in the first time in the museum.
Q himself.
The Q itself, showing up again after 2 movies without showing up, and when they talk the first time in the museum, and then said about, oh, it's not Christmas, and Q answer about the explosive pen.
Oh yeah, we don't do it. We exploding pens. We don't do that anymore. It's a reference to a specific movie.
To the old movies.
GoldenEye, I think. I think it's a reference.
I don't know.
It's a callback to GoldenEye.
But I think it's GoldenEye, but I think it's a little about the other movies as well, because in all movies there is a lot of gadgets. Yeah. So there's a lot of them, and this one is just a pistol and a radio.
Yeah,
and micro radio.
the gun, the Walther PPK, is supposed to be the same. It's supposed to be the same type of gun. Obviously, several years later, that Q gives to Bond in Doctor No. So
the first one. The first movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff.
The car. The car is a big reference.
Yeah, that's the classic one from Goldfinger. So.
Yeah, and I think Pierce Brosnan used it as
one
as well in some movie. I don't
Could
know.
Be. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, Aston Martin is very much associated with James Bond, and Aston Martin is very much it's a car very much associated with James Bond.
Yes.
And I love the fact that he's in the car and he flips open the steering, the gear, and he opens it and to the red button. And then I just love it when M turns to him and says, "I'll let you check to see if I care." And he just goes. But I like that again. It's like a reference to it, and it's there. And then again, I think you mentioned once at one point, like the car, all this exploding gadgets and all that stuff. The car in it of itself is full of stuff, right? It has guns in the headlights.
Yes.
It's full of crap.
Yes.
It's better armed than the actual house that they're staying. There's more in the car than in the house.
It's true. I remember now. There is in some James Bond movie, there is a car that becomes a submarine.
Maybe that sounds possible. That sounds familiar. Maybe that's one we watched with Pierce Brosnan. I think so.
I don't know. I would check this out.
I think so, but that does sound familiar. I do remember seeing something like that. A car turns into a submarine. But then again, you also have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Coulson's car Lola turns into a hover car. So.
Yeah.
So there's it's not crazy to see a car that does something that a car should not do.
There is a submarine car.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Not surprised.
Yeah, and it was sold.
Sold?
Sold, yeah. Thank you. It was sold. Let me see. For more than 860,000.
Right, that makes sense. So they had an auction for when this movie came out. They were doing an auction of all the iconic stuff for James Bond. And they sold the trunks, the swimming trunks that Daniel Craig wears in, I think, Casino Royale, where he comes out of the water, the blue trunks. They sold that for like 44,000.
Wow.
44,000 for a pair of trunks that Daniel Craig wore. Okay. I mean, hey.
The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, that's Roger Moore, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So The Spy Who Loved, that's why I have seen that, because I've seen Roger Moore. That was my first James Bond introduction to James Bond, was Roger Moore, because my mom liked him, which I still find weird, because my dad would be more into action movies. My mom wasn't, but somehow my mom was the one who introduced me to James Bond, or I at least associate being introduced to James Bond with my mom. What was yours?
Well,
first James Bond.
My first James Bond was Pierce Brosnan. And I think it was with you.
But it makes sense, though. That was also the one that we were children. We were alive when he...
Yes, exactly. Because he became James Bond in 1995. So my childhood was with him being the James Bond.
Yeah, so... and I think the one we watched was Die Another Day, right? With Halle Berry.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember that day watching it with you, your mom, and your sister. I don't remember what your sister was doing, but I don't think she was paying attention to the movie.
I don't think so, because she was too young.
Yeah, she was too little, but I'm positive she was not paying attention to the movie. She was there, but she was not paying attention. Your mom was highly amused by us. No, I think all three of us were highly amused by the airplane scene, where like people are getting thrown out the window. And we're both...
I don't know how to say this in English.
I know. So there's airplanes there's a major fight in an airplane, and then the henchmen are being thrown out of the airplane, and some of them just fly off, right? And that's it. And then I think one of them flies right into the propellers. And for some reason that was highly hilarious. Don't know why. And I think basically the point is we called it a bunch of different things of him being thrown in there. It was chopped, blended, and then at one point we said puree. I believe I'm the one who said puree simply because that would be the only word in Portuguese that I would know.
Maybe,
how to say.
Yeah.
It could have been you, but I'm like, I don't know. But the only thing I think of is because I definitely couldn't have come up with any of the other ones because I wouldn't have known the words.
Yeah. So probably it was you.
And I think the only reason because I'm like I wanted to join in, and the only thing I could supply was puree because I think I noticed that I think maybe a few days before, one of our aunts was making a cake or whatever it is, but she was using the blender, and I saw that the only name that stayed the same was puree. But was puree, and also the fact that we call it mashed potatoes. We call it basically potato puree is what mashed potatoes is called in Portuguese. So I think that was the only word I could think of because that was the only word I knew in Portuguese in that context at the time.
And very similar to things.
And that just became something that we would make fun of the whole time. Although I might have been the one to say it, but you said it funnier than I did. That I'm positive of.
I just remember we laughed a lot of this scene.
Yeah. I remember you just said, pure. It was just really funny the way you said it. Like you emphasized the word. It was very funny. But I remember every time I think of that movie, I think of that time. I think I watched it the first time I watched it was with you too. I think that was the first time we watched it. I don't know why we picked that movie. That's something I would like to understand because we rented it. It wasn't on TV.
I don't know.
I think we rented it. I don't remember it being on TV.
It wasn't released in 1997. No. 2002. 2002. Die Another Day, right?
Yeah. Die Another Day. And we watched
2002, maybe it was like we rented newest one, so maybe it's like, oh, it's the new one, let's watch it because people are watching this in the cinema. Maybe it's something like this.
I don't know what happened. All I know is that it wasn't on TV because it was too new for it to be on TV. Because that's not how movies work. Usually they don't put
no, but
that new.
Maybe was the fita VHS.
VHS?
Yeah. VHS is the same? Okay.
Yeah.
So the VHS film, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, no, is that I believe we rented. I'm not sure how we ended up choosing that mind you, me at 12, her at 11, choosing to watch this movie. No, you at 10, deciding to watch this movie. I don't know how to explain how that logic happened, but we had good taste as children.
See?
But yeah, so that that was roughly our first experiences with James Bond. Mine was a few movies of Roger Moore. I think I saw one Timothy Dalton. I think I could be wrong. And yours was Pierce Brosnan, who makes sense because that would be your James Bond, as in like you were
my
alive.
James Bond.
You were alive.
I remember that. I remember that I found him so charming, so charming. Like he's the icon of charming for me at the time. But then I realized that he wasn't so charming as others.
No.
Other James Bond.
I mean,
I have
Sean
to say
Connery
that
is pretty charming.
Yes, he is.
I still get a little creeped out because again, different time when you watch it, you have to remind yourself it's a different time.
Yeah, it's true.
But he's very charming.
I have to say that I don't think Daniel Craig is charming.
I think that kind of stems from, if I'm not mistaken, when they decided to do Daniel Craig as James Bond, they wanted to go back more into how he was originally supposed to have been written in Ian Fleming's novels. So that's where he kind of comes in. Is also, I think it was supposed to be that idea of how he was when he first started becoming an agent. He wasn't, because the first movie is Casino Royale, which technically the first book, which is him becoming James Bond, right?
Yes.
So it's very, I think if you compare him to Skyfall, Casino Royale to Skyfall, he's much more charming. He has a bit more finesse and everything like that.
I can't find him charming, like in any situation. I don't think.
The funny thing is, him as a person, I've seen interviews with him. He is charming. Just something maybe not as, but him as a person, he's funny.
Maybe not for funny is one thing. Charming is another. Like being a good person, funny, being charismatic is other thing. But
yeah, but he is, like, I've seen interviews with him. He has that ability. It just doesn't come across, I guess, maybe for you as him as James Bond. I just thought it was his take on James Bond of being more serious than. Because I believe there was an interview with Sean Connery that I saw where he mentions how, the evolution of James Bond and how basically with Roger Moore, they decided to go a more comedic route. They tried to make it more funny, a little bit more lighthearted than when he was James Bond. And you can see that in the Pierce Brosnan. Like I said, we thought the scene in the plane, which is an action sequence where people are dying, funny. Yes. I don't know why we thought that was funny, but it was funny.
I don't know. Maybe because it was so...
ridiculous. Yes.
I was trying to find a more kind word. Okay.
It's an action movie. There's a lot of things that are slightly ridiculous. That's the whole point of an action movie. They're supposed to be kind of fantastical.
Yeah, but Pierce Brosnan, poor Pierce Brosnan, because his movies is like the most funny ones. Because there is a scene that's terrible as well, that he's surfing a giant wave. This scene, oh my god, it's like the CGI was terrible. You can see he wasn't there.
Yeah, well, you also kind of have to give a break to the CGI. I mean, you have to look at the time period.
But even at the time, it was ridiculous.
It was bad for the time? Okay.
Yeah, it was bad for the time. I remember this.
Although I say this, and then
anyone take him serious?
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the only good. I mean,
for James Bond. For James Bond. Okay, not for anything. For James Bond, he was like the most funny one.
Maybe. I mean, as far as we would know, because we haven't seen all of them, so I don't know.
Yeah, because it's 20 something movies.
Yeah, it's a lot of movies to go through. So for me, what I liked though is that starting with Pierce Brosnan being James Bond is that you were introduced to a female M with Judi Dench.
Yes.
And she has been in 7 movies. She has been since Pierce Brosnan until this movie, Skyfall. Yeah. I love the fact that there was a female M, and there's an interview with Judi Dench on the Graham Norton show, how she said that she wasn't aware of the responsibility of being the female the female version of M, and how if she had known at the time, she probably wouldn't have taken on the role. Because it's
I'm glad
it's a huge because me too.
I'm glad because she was an amazing M. Yeah.
Yes, she really was.
Yeah, I have a question that I sometimes I start to think about this, because she was M for Pierce Brosnan and then to Daniel Craig, and it was normal. Okay, there is one James Bond, then another one, and totally different. And okay, and in Skyfall, she dies and another M takes the place. So I sometimes start to think that is James Bond
a title?
A title?
Maybe.
Like
that's the closest word I can think.
The other.
Well, Doctor Who technically isn't a title.
Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne is a title.
Okay. Yeah, because you're gonna say Doctor Who. Doctor Who technically it's the same person, just regenerated into a different body.
Yeah. So it doesn't work. Yeah, but James Bourne, like it's a person. Bourne? Yeah, Jason Bourne. Sorry, Jason Bourne.
No, because you said James Bourne. I'm like, wait, did I miss a movie?
I took the two of them. I took the two of them and did a mashup.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but that's actually a good question. I think I was thinking this at one point in the movie too. I think I remember thinking this, being like, is it a title? Because
at the same time,
I just passed on.
Yeah, but at the same time, there is a tombstone of the parents of James Bond in Skyfall.
Yeah.
That shows the names. That like I don't know who Bonds and I don't know who Bond. Like the mother and the father.
I remember.
And they have Bond. So I quite don't know if it's a title.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I believe when it was originally written, it was supposed to be a name, but then over the years, we've had so many different variations, and then, like you said, you started a new movie with the same M.
Yeah, and the Q as well. Change it. The old
Q
one
changed. Moneypenny. Moneypenny is in Pierce Brosnan's version, right?
Yes, but the Q. It was Desmond Llewellyn. I don't know how to say this, but he was in most, like he was Q for Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, and Pierce Brosnan. Like it was the same Q for all of them.
Yeah, and then I'm assuming he passed away and they hired a new person, or the person didn't want to come back.
So, okay, it's just a question because it was in my mind for a long time.
Well, that's a very good question. I don't think anyone's really questioned it.
Yeah, I don't think
anyone's really thought of
much difference, but
no. But it's an interesting question. But I liked the actor who played this Q, by the way. I loved him.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know, he conquista.
He definitely
conquistou meu coração.
I know exactly what you're saying in Portuguese. I'm trying to figure out how to translate, and for some reason my brain is drawing a blank.
Okay, I just feel I feel happy when I see him on the screen.
I liked Q. I loved him. I liked the scene when he's first introduced in the museum, right? When he hands him the gun and he hands him the super, super tiny radio. Toy.
It's a Barbie radio.
Children's toy.
For Barbie.
And then there's that whole discussion about how age doesn't guarantee experience and youth doesn't guarantee innovation, which I
Yeah,
thought
I
was a
like
good.
this.
Yeah, that was a good scene. That was an important scene.
I like this because there is a lot of this discussion about this. Like, oh, all that is new is good, but experience is
Not
good as
always,
well. Yeah, not always. Sometimes you need
but also I think
experience, and I think is
true.
a
But also
I think is a thing that they discuss very well in this movie, the conflict with the new and the old.
yeah, but at the same time, just because someone is young doesn't mean that they don't have experience, and just because
Yes,
someone is older, they don't have innovation.
yeah, it's
That's what
true
they're trying
as
to say.
well. Yeah, it's true as well. But yeah, I like this because of all this conflict. Like in the end, he kills the villain with a knife.
Yeah, which is the oldest weapon, as
Exactly.
Kincaid pointed out.
Yeah, Kincaid.
Uh,
I one time I will discover why this name
there's a problem with a
lights
character
something in
in
my hair,
something.
my head, hair, head,
Hair, my constant that there's an expression I've never heard
head,
before. I'm like,
head.
I was just assuming that maybe it was an expression in Portuguese. I'm like, maybe I just
Mm.
never heard the expression. Um, but I do like that. I love that scene where it was talking, but also it kind of maybe, um, I think also why they brought back Q, why they did all these things is,
Mm-hmm.
this was the Skyfall was supposed to be a soft reboot
Yeah,
for the franchise
yeah.
because Quantum Solace did not do well, and they weren't even sure they were going to be able to make another James Bond movie.
Mm-hmm.
So when they got Skyfall, they decided that it was important to bring back elements
Yeah,
that made the movie so classic.
yeah.
Which some of the things I like I like the fact that Q came in. I absolutely like the actor who plays him, Ben Whishaw, or hold on, pronounce his last name correctly, with Wishaw,
Mm-hmm.
who is also in Mary Poppins Returns.
Mm.
He plays the dad in Mary Poppins Returns. He plays the kids, one of the.
I didn't watch the new Mary Poppins.
Yeah, but it's a cute one. But I love him as Q. I
Mm-hmm.
adore him as Q. I thought he said a few things that made me giggle, like the exploding pen line I liked, and then the so much for my promising career in espionage as he takes a sip of his tea or coffee or whatever it is. But he makes a comment that is also something that you've pointed out, where he says, I can do more damage from my computer than you can do out in the field.
Yes.
And he goes, then why do you need me? He goes, well, sometimes a gun needs to be fired. Yes. Someone needs to pull the trigger. Yeah. So there's still basically an argument to be said that there are still people, you still need humans. You can't just do everything off technology, because he's out in the ground seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
And like I said in the beginning, Moneypenny Eve took the advice of M and ended up killing Bond, or as far as we know, for the beginning, as far as they knew, killing Bond.
Yes. My
Obviously,
God.
he didn't die, or else there would be no movie.
Yeah, but he passed some months dead, playing around.
Yeah, in a different country.
Yeah,
drinking himself into oblivion. Apparently, becoming an alcoholic.
Yeah, and yeah, well, but this softly reboot that you said worked very well, because this was the most rentable movie of all James Bond movie until Skyfall. It was like.
It was the most what?
The most rentable? Like.
What do you mean by?
Que deu mais dinheiro.
Oh, billable.
Yes.
Because rent, like what? It was rent as in like alugar. That's what.
No,
that's okay. I was just trying to making sure I understood what you were saying.
Because in Portuguese it's rentável. So I went like, oh, the most close word is this. So okay. Yeah.
Well, this is for those of you who do not speak Portuguese or speak another language. This is what happens when you have to speak two languages. Yeah. You kind of have to.
How's the name is
bilingual.
No. Right? But this word that is very similar, but it's not the same meaning. there's a name for this. Falso
Maybe,
cognato.
I don't know.
Falso cognato.
I'm gonna pretend like I okay. I've never even heard that actually, but it happens all the time. Like the only difference between us is that I have almost 30 years over her of having to figure out creative ways of explaining what I'm trying to say in Portuguese because no one spoke English when I was a child. At the time, she didn't speak English, so I have years of experience of having to find creative ways of explaining.
Okay. So,
and now she has me to be like, hold on, what?
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. So I people can understand me. But
no, they understand you. It's just every once in a while, it's two different languages.
Yeah. But it was the first James Bond movie that make $1 billion of.
Okay, so it's the most. It was the most high-grossing movie. Of the James Bond franchise. Okay.
Yes. Until
we got
Skyfall.
There. Eventually, we got there.
I don't know about the.
But this is Skyfall. Which one are you talking about?
No, it's because there is one after this, and I don't.
Oh, check. Spectrum. Yeah. Spectre.
But I didn't check the money of that.
Okay, no. So this is the highest-grossing one, out of all of them. So from Dr. No to Spectre, because we're not counting.
No, I mean I don't know about the Spectre. I don't know about.
Okay, what I'm saying. So we're counting on to Spectre, the ones that have come out yet, because obviously the newest one we have no idea because we don't know when it's going to come out. So Skyfall is the highest grossing one so far, as we know. No, that's the point. Out of all of them, this is so far one of the highest grossing ones. I mean, as far as I understand, Skyfall was better liked than Spectre.
Yeah. Well, the last one. Until now, because there is another one.
Yeah, there's one more movie. When we're going to see it, it's anybody's guess. Yeah. Well, welcome to the new world. Can I just say also a scene that I really liked?
Which one?
It's a scene in Shanghai where he's fighting in that whole entire glass building. And it's just basically the two of them, him and Patrice in shadow. I liked it. I thought it looked cool with just the lights on the building.
Oh yes. I was trying to.
That was a cool scene.
I was trying to find the scene. Yes, and then Patrice looks behind him and don't see James Bond because of the lights.
Which I thought I'm like, how did he do it? Because let's face it, that it kind of felt a little bit like what they end up doing kind of in the house with the mirror, like a fun house mirror type thing, where if you stand in the right place, people it has the idea of a fun house mirror, but the opposite, because how you can stand in a certain place and you see hundreds of you, but they don't know exactly where you are. You see that happen a lot when there's a fun house like mirror thing where people shoot and end up shooting the mirror, not the actual person. But it's kind of like the opposite of that, where all these mirrors he's able to basically become invisible because of the lights and everything. That he's able to find a place to stand, which I don't know if it's sheer dumb luck or that he's super smart, because I don't know. Because let's face it, that's anybody's guess of how he was able to do that.
Yeah, and how the director did it as well.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
Sam Mendes is a very good director. I mean, he's an Academy Award-winning director for a few movies. And I remember that he's known Daniel Craig, and he was having. I think he was talking one day to them. I think they worked on Road to Perdition together. And he turned to Daniel Craig, and he's like, "So do you know when you're doing the next Bond movie?" And Daniel Craig says no, and he goes, "Do you know who's directing it?" He says no, and then Daniel Craig asks him, "Do you want to do it?" And then obviously he wasn't handed the role just because Daniel Craig told him, but it's kind of nice that they have that connection to one another.
It's interesting how lives work.
Yeah, and also he's worked with Judi Dench before that too. Years and years ago, one of his first projects was a Chekhov play, The Cherry Orchard, that he did, and Judi Dench was in it. So he's worked with her several years before that too.
You know who else worked together in this movie?
Yes, I do. Voldemort and Narcissa.
Yes. I love how we always find the Harry Potter actors in the movies.
But here's the thing, though. If you're going to watch a British movie with a lot of British actors, very rare you're not going to find someone who's been in a Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's true.
Very rare.
It's true.
Because they had a lot of the biggest names being in that movie. Like, there's a lot of people. So you'll always find someone who's been in Harry Potter or reunited because they worked in Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Enola Holmes is an example.
Yes.
Enola Holmes is an example. Downton Abbey is another example.
Downton Abbey.
You have McGonagall. You have McGonagall and Umbridge in the movie are working. See, like you see it all over the place.
Yes.
But just for those of you who don't know who we mean by Voldemort in Narcissa Malfoy, Voldemort is played by an actor called Ralph Fiennes, who in this movie plays Mallory.
Who became M.
Who became M. And then Narcissa is portrayed. Hold on, give me 1 second. She plays the prime minister, but the actress's name is Helen McCrory, and she plays the MP, right?
Yes.
And she is, but there's a scene. So I'm looking at the actress, and I'm like, I've seen her somewhere before. And then there's a wide shot of her and Ralph Fiennes sitting next to each other, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Narcissa and Voldemort.
I didn't see that. I didn't recognize her. Or I didn't pay attention. I don't know.
But which would make sense because he looks like a normal human being in the movie. And he's standing next to her. So it's not like it automatically you think Voldemort when you look at him because he looks like a human being, not some deformed figure. So that helps.
True.
He's not someone who's been so corrupt by magic that he doesn't look like a human being anymore. So there's probably why you weren't able to see it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I see Ralph Fiennes and go, oh yeah, that's Voldemort looking like a human.
I recognize him. I didn't recognize her.
But because if you don't really notice her, you don't see her standing next to him looking like a creature, it doesn't click.
Yeah. Probably.
Because she shows up very little, but I don't know. I recognize the actress and they went from there. But I thought that's just really fun. I'm sitting there going, oh, Narcissa and Voldemort. But of course we find some reference to Harry Potter somewhere.
Oh, they are friends again.
Yeah. He pretended to die and decided to take over the human world.
Oh, so the magic word doesn't work. I would just take the control of the England. And I'll be a good guy
this time. I've learned my lesson. Yeah, I'm a good guy this time. Because he's not the bad guy in this, obviously.
No.
I have to say, I have no issues with the idea that they decided that they wanted to cast a new M, right? I get it. They're doing a soft reboot. They're trying to relaunch the idea. And she has been in it from GoldenEye till Skyfall. She's been in 7 movies. And arguably, I think she's been in more movies than an actual Bond actor. More movies than one solid Bond actor. Okay, fine. I get it. She decides, I think it's time for me to take a step back and walk out. And she agreed. I think there's an interview that she thought it is okay. Maybe I'm wrong. And maybe there's another interview with her saying that she wishes that she could have stayed longer. But this was the idea of the screenwriter, right?
Yeah.
John Logan. And he's like, Skyfall is about James Bond coming to life in a new world, in no better way than to introduce him to a new M. Fine. Why couldn't a new M also have been a woman?
Good question.
Because my thing is, as far as we know, especially after what you said, Barbara Broccoli, the head of... That's a name. Hey, I mean, it hasn't stopped her from becoming a powerful woman, so hey.
But it's because it's funny when you think about the family Broccoli. The Broccoli family, sorry.
You think Broccoli...
The Broccoli family
is
the owner of the producer.
Yeah, they own... So she's like the head of production for James Bond and all that stuff, and she's named... I mean, hey, I think of it as a character you'd find in some form of a story, but whatever. So, because M was the closest thing we'd ever see to a woman being Bond.
Yes.
Especially after what she said.
Yeah.
Right? Then there's an interview where you said that what did she say? So it was in Variety magazine. She said,
yeah, in the Variety magazine, she said, I will try to translate this. She said that James Bond can be of any ethnicity,
ethnicity or race.
Yeah.
Ethnicity, race, whatever. It can be of any ethnicity.
But he's a man. So they believe that to create new characters for the woman, and like be more interesting.
So they want
this will be more interesting to create characters for the woman than a woman to be a James Bond.
Okay, so they think it's better, it's more interesting to create more fleshed out female characters than it is to put James Bond as a woman.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my thing.
Yeah.
I have no issue. I mean, I would have liked to have seen. I mean, I wouldn't have minded seeing a woman be James Bond. I think that'd be kind of cool. It'd be very interesting to see the different dynamics and how that would work as a woman being in this role of who James Bond is. And I think it'd definitely be something that in the world that we live in today would be great to see. Maybe have someone or maybe someone of a different ethnicity be Bond as well, instead of it always being a white man, would also be cool.
Yes, I agree.
But I think that the idea of creating we're going to create super interesting female characters, but James Bond has to be a woman. I'm like, but why can't you create why wouldn't it be interesting? But then again, there was a lot of backlash. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but there was a lot of silly and juvenile fanboys who were upset that that Doctor Who became a woman. To my reaction, that is, screw you. She's fantastic. Jodie Whittaker is awesome as a doctor. Yeah. Why shouldn't there be a female doctor?
Yeah. There's no reason for not to be a woman like Doctor Who or James Bond.
Why not? I mean, if they want to pick another actor to play him, great. I'm okay with that. That's what you think is best. If you think that you found the best male actor to play him. But here's my thing. I want to see more stronger female characters, and not just
like
the eye candy or. Well, I want to see more female. I want to see James Bond's equal as a woman, not a love interest, but his equal as a woman. I would also like to see a James Bond villain be a woman, not only a man. Why not? Why not go there?
All of them are men. Yeah,
all of them are men. You've had henchwomen, the spies who have been there to seduce him and then play him for a fool.
Yeah, it would be amazing. Bad guys,
but they're not the main. They're not a villain. I would like to see a female villain.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
If we can't get a female Bond, I would like to see a female villain. Until we can finally get a James Bond. But I also think that it would be nice to see a more diverse cast in general too. Like not just because everyone is just. In the world we live in now, you notice these things, right? You see a movie, you see the whole entire cast be white, you see them all be men. You notice this. Yeah. It can't just go fly by on the radar. You notice it. You are going to question it. You are going to notice it. And for me, this movie does a great job, for the most part, of not showing its age, right? Of when it was made. I feel a lot of it, like, you don't really see a lot of cell phones, or you don't really see buttons, so you don't really see that, jarring moment of like, oh, this movie is from early 2000s or before that. But for me, the moment of the movie that aged it was when you have Serene, right? A Severine, where he meets her, right? And Severine, I think it's pronounced properly. He points out the tattoo that she has on her wrist means that she was sold into that she was human trafficked, and that she's basically belongs to one of the 12 or 13 houses. Basically saying that she is a prostitute. I use this term lightly because she basically is sold, passed around for sex to make money for the houses, is what we get, right? So he knows this about her. And then the next time we see the two of them together, he walks in on her on the shower, and then there's a sex scene. Which, to me, I feel like there's two reasons why I find that annoying. Yes. One, in this Time's Up, Me Too movement era, where's that question of, hey,
hi, I'm here.
Just because she flirted
with you.
Hello,
I'm here. Can I take a shower with you? Like something.
No, or at like, where's that moment of like, just because she flirted with you or liked you, where's the moment that she said, oh,
I want to have
I
sex
want
with
you
you.
like that? Yeah. And the other thing is, we just learned that that she is part of basically a sex slave or whatever it is. And that is how you decide to approach her? I mean, that to me is where I went.
Without making one question. Like, just...
Or maybe,
like,
again, this is the James
where is the
Bond
personal
movie.
space of her? Like, her personal space? Where is it?
Or her choice in the matter of, like, I know that she's okay with it because, again,
Yes.
this is a James Bond movie.
But
it
when
was,
you take
to me, that moment again.
When you take a shower, it's your time, because you're taking shower. Like, it's you with you taking a shower, and then comes a guy that you just met without saying anything, just enters and say, personal space, please.
Yeah, it's but as I said, like, that's the moment in the movie where it ages itself, where you see it and you go, oh, this was done at a different time. True. Because if that scene would have been done now, you would have a lot more people kind of a little bit like, I don't know how I feel about that.
True.
Right? Because, again, it's supposed to follow that whole nostalgia of being a James Bond movie. He's a seductress, he's a womanizer. But in the eyes of looking at it today, it kind of takes away from it being for me, it takes away from it being a sexy one. Because if maybe they had cut out the scene where he points out that she is basically a sex slave, I maybe would have been a little bit better, because maybe there would have been a moment that we missed that they cut out for timing. Yeah. But it's that those two together makes me kind of weird, a little creeped out. But here's another question I have for you. First off, Javier Bardem as a villain, he's amazing.
Yes.
I do love him as a villain.
Yeah, me too.
You already know what I'm going to complain about. I'm complaining about the dyed eyebrows. I don't like blonde dyed eyebrows. Never seem to work. I think it's just in general, when you dye eyebrows blonde, they don't work. If someone has natural blonde eyebrows that blonde, it works. But when you dye them, it's just obvious.
It's weird. Anyway. Like, when you look, it looks fake.
It looks weird.
It looks fake.
But I think for him, it makes sense. Like, it just makes sense. It works.
Yeah.
But what I liked about his portrayal of this villain is that, one, Javier Bardem apparently has only played a villain, including this movie, 3 times so far. But then again, if you also count, like, at this point, he's done it 3 times, because there's also, of course, him in Pirates of the Caribbean, where he played another villain. But until this point, he's only played a villain 3 times, right? Until the making of this movie.
And he's so villain.
He's so good at being villainous. He's very good at playing a villain. So what I liked about him is that he never raises his voice. There's a few moments where he yells, but in general, he doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't yell. He doesn't really have over, like, you know how you sometimes see villains who are, like, overly emotional and yell and scream to make you afraid of them? He doesn't have that.
Yes.
And it makes me think of something that Jensen Ackles, who's on the show Supernatural, was talking about, a character of Michael, and how that character does not need to scream, does not need to yell. He is the most powerful person. He doesn't need to do anything. There's no need to show that he is. So there's no need to show anything.
Yeah. So he's in the control, and he knows it, basically.
Yeah, and I think that he did a great job of that, of being like...
I agree. I think it's more dangerous.
That I thought was very well done.
I feel that is more dangerous when the villain, it's too calm. For me, it's more... Yeah. It's more... I don't know. I don't
sinister?
know. Yeah, more sinister, yeah.
Here's another thing, too. There's something that Javier Bardem said. I think what he liked about this villain is that he is more... He actually has a motive, and his motive isn't just to destroy the world. It's a personal vendetta against M. And that makes him more fascinating than the other villains. And I have to kind of agree with that. Because when the villain, like, there's no connection to them. Yeah, okay, they die, whatever. They're a Bond villain. They're a Bond villain. And there's a 2-dimensional twirling the mustache or petting the cat. And that's it. there's no more to it than that. What, the petting the cat thing that you actually have seen in Bond movies? So that's, where it kind of, I kind of agree. And now,
so he has a story.
Moment where I was kind of like,
he has a story. He has a motive. He has
motivation.
Yeah, he has motivations. He has he's deep.
There's depth to it.
Yes.
There's more layers to it than just, I want to destroy the world. Ha ha ha.
Which is so boring. I want to destroy the world just because I want to.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. Two things I thought was interesting. One, I love the fact that his actual name is Thiago Rodriguez, which to me made me go, hold up. Is he Portuguese then? Because the only time I've ever heard the name Thiago was for Portuguese or Brazilian names, right? I've never heard it. But then I looked it up, and yes, it's the Portuguese version for James. And it's in Spanish is short for Santiago. But Santiago translates as Saint James.
Yes. So where's the Portuguese in all this? I mean...
So I'm guessing it's also a Spanish.
Okay, we can think. Okay, it's a Spanish name. We don't know any Spanish Thiago. Only Brazilians Thiago.
As far as I know. I've never paid attention. As far as I know,
I can't think about one Spanish Thiago, but I know several Brazilian Thiagos.
Yeah, Thiago, Portuguese, I've heard it. It's a very common name. So I was just curious about that. And then I'm just sitting there going, maybe it's I guess it just became a very popular Portuguese name, but it doesn't mean that it's just Portuguese. Good to know.
We don't know. But talking about Brazil shows up in one of the Bond movie. It was yeah. It's not really, really good. It was in 1979, and in Iguaçu Falls. It's kind of similar to Niagara Falls. So it's on the south of Brazil, and they say it was in Amazonia. How do I say that? Amazonia?
The
Amazon forest.
The Amazon.
Yeah. So it's on the... In the real world is on the south, but in the movie they say is on the Amazon forest, which is in the north of the country.
It's in the Amazon forest. Okay, that makes sense. Sure.
And
makes total sense.
And
wait, the Amazon is in the north?
Yes, it is.
I have to ask this because yes, we learned geography in the United States, but probably not as much as we studied. We obviously did not. I did not learn Brazilian geography, as pointed out by that movie. That I did not learn Brazilian geography when I was learning geography in Brazil. When I was learning geography when I was in school about Brazil.
It's funny.
That makes sense. It's closer to the equator.
But it's funny because it's like, nature. So in Brazil, nature. Amazon forest, of course. So, but no.
But my question to that is, haven't they ever heard of this newfangled invention called the map before they did it?
It's just check. Come on. And Rio de Janeiro shows up as well in the same movie.
It's
Pão de Açúcar. I don't know if it's Sugarloaf. I don't know if they translated this. Sugarloaf in Rio shows up in the same movie as well, but
no, they don't translate the names. They just butcher it, but they don't translate them.
In Rio.
I mean, they translate for that for you to understand what it means, but it's just. But they can tell you what it means. Like this is the name, but they don't translate. You would never you would never talk to an American and they would say, "Oh, Sugarloaf." They'd be like, "No, I've been to," and they would say it as close to the pronunciation as they possibly can. But they wouldn't. They don't change. They don't change the name.
I didn't know about this because sometimes these touristic places are translated. Sometimes no. So I don't know.
Sometimes yes, but like it all depends on what it is. Like Rio de Janeiro is not called River of January. They're not going to call. I'm going to River of January. They're not going to call it River of January. They're not going to. I'm going to Saint. I'm not going. I'm going to Saint Paul. They don't call Saint Paulo Saint Paul.
Yeah.
They don't do that. I'm not going to Beautiful Horizon. I'm not. They don't translate that. Belo Horizonte.
Yeah, I know.
You know, they don't translate the names.
Because in Portuguese we say Nova York, not New York. We say Nova York. We translate.
But you're still saying New York. You're still saying New York. You haven't changed the name. It's just,
no, but officially
I think
in a map
like that, just to make it.
But officially in a map would be Nova York in Portuguese.
I don't know why.
No, like
some things we translate, but I don't think that one.
Statue of Liberty, we say Estátua da Liberdade. We translate. That's why I don't know if it's translated or not.
Certain things are translated. Like I think Cristo Redentor is translated. I just Christ. I forgot what the translation. That is translated.
Yeah. Again,
certain things are.
What is
certain
the
things
rules
aren't.
for this to translate or not? What?
I don't know. All I know is that São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, the names of the places are not translated.
Yeah.
For us, we don't translate them. We call them what they are. We may butcher the pronunciation. Well, I don't, because I'm hoping I speak Portuguese well enough. But they don't change it. I don't know. That's, I guess, one thing that the U.S. does right is that they don't try to change the names of the places so often. Like there are certain things that do change, but like you say Eiffel Tower, you say you say certain, they could change Tour d'Eiffel, but there's no rule.
Okay.
You really don't know.
I don't know. Me neither. I don't.
Because certain things, I think when it's like a place, maybe they don't change it.
Let's make this a study for us. Maybe in the end of the podcast we have an answer.
Here's what I have to say. It's the exact same logic as translating names from English to Portuguese, that some do, some don't. Some they translate exactly, some they translate that makes no. For example, From Russia with Love is translated to Moscow versus Bond.
Why?
I don't know how that works.
And in the same
it sounds
well, but in the same like Bond movies, we have what's the name?
GoldenEye is GoldenEye.
Casino Royale wasn't. Skyfall.
Casino Royale is Casino Royale.
GoldenEye is that how 007? Oh my God, how is how there's such in English? How to say this?
007. 007.
So it's 007 against GoldenEye. So GoldenEye. In Portuguese.
Okay.
Still
I'm not going to question that one. But there
Goldfinger is still Goldfinger.
Still GoldenEye, but this Goldfinger.
So it's still Goldfinger.
Dedo de Ouro, it would have been funny.
Yeah.
That would have been a literal translation for some reason would have been funny. Although Goldfinger is so weird, but it's, I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't when you translate it to a language. I don't know.
It's true.
But it's a discussion we constantly have of like, wait, why was that?
Yeah.
What? Okay. But the other thing I wanted to say was when I first saw that Skyfall was Bond's family home, and that it was in Scotland. I had a question. I don't think I saw this anywhere, but I'm gonna ask and say that I was thinking, is this a nod to Sean Connery? Because Sean Connery is Scottish.
It's possible. It's possible.
Maybe it's possible. But the other thing I wanted to say about that scene, one, I thought that scene was fantastic. Two, I had a moment of thinking that it reminded me a little bit of Home Alone, with basically turning the house into one massive booby trap. It felt a little bit like Home Alone, in a much more sophisticated level, and a much more deadly level. But still, it had that feel of like the trap this, and then putting stuff on the ground, and the mirrors, and the faking, and it made me feel a little bit like, are we Home Alone. Are we turning this house into a Home Alone reference here? Just more sophisticated. And then, of course, you have the car that's also a massive weapon as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those things. I thought it was a great scene, but it was a little funny. The other thing I have to say for me was the tunnel scene. The where he sets off the explosion in the house and then decides to turn around. It goes into the tunnel, turns around and waits to see if the explosion is actually going to happen.
Why? Tell me. Why? Just to the fire to come to...
I don't know, but I remember looking at that scene going...
You're very clever. Stay there.
Okay, the sound cut out. I can see you, but since no one else can see you, I see you very animatedly saying something, but I couldn't hear what you said. Okay, as you were saying, complaining about what was it? Now that we can actually, I don't know, I can actually hear you, and there's no issues with us recording this.
No, I was just saying that James Bond, like, the part that he stopped on the tunnel.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, very clever. Yeah, stay there and wait for the fire to come to your face.
Yep. No, yeah, apparently I'm tired.
Blah, blah.
Sorry, my brain is not. No, I remember watching that being like, are we sure that stopping there is the smartest move?
Yeah.
No, because he is.
Come on, you're James Bond.
Yeah, he's running full speed, and then I don't know if he even gets halfway out, down the tunnel, turns around and stops, and I'm like, are we waiting for the fire? Are we testing how fast we can run? Because, I would assume I don't know. Again, I'm not James Bond. I don't have powers of resurrection. Yeah, like he does apparently.
Resurrection.
I would have ran and waited at a safe distance to make sure that it was done, because even if it was done or not, you're not in the house anymore, full of the assassins. Yeah. So you've gotten away.
Yes, exactly. Like, come on, you're James Bond. Don't be stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I had issues with just him stopping. I'm like, yeah.
Why? Yeah, I was like that. It's like, why?
That was, I think, my big. I think that was really my only complaint. Where I was that's my second complaint. There's that, and there's also the fact that why. I like the character of M. I understand why they needed M. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I've already said this. I've lost track of my thought process during this. I like the fact that M was played by a woman. I understand that this is a soft reboot. I understand that the idea that they want to restart with a new M. She's been in 7 movies. She's done, I think, she's been M longer than a Bond has been a Bond. Maybe. But, so I was okay with that. I wasn't okay with, my question was, but why did M have to be replaced with a man?
Yeah, and why she don't shoot well.
Oh yeah, that one has bothered me too. I remember watching it, I'm like, it didn't bother me. I just kind of watched and I went, I would have liked it if she was a good shot. I mean,
yeah, because she was a spy once before becoming M, right?
I would assume so.
So she's supposed to shoot good, not the best, but at least good.
Well, yeah, she should have. Because my thing is, by the way, why this is the English grammar, which is why it's so much fun. Instead of it being shoot good, it's shoot well. Why? I don't know how to explain that to you or how you would even understand that logic. There is no logic. Oh. No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, can we stop and think about how sometimes I understand why people who don't speak English as a first language suffer? Because there's no logic with the conjugations of words. There's no logic. Because in Portuguese, there's a conjugation. But it's like the conjugations in Portuguese are easy. Like they have a certain rule to them. English, not so much. Certain words are pronounced differently. You take a different word that means nothing. If she is the head of MI6, right? That's the organization. This is MI6, correct?
Yes.
Shouldn't she be a good shot? Just maybe.
I would. Yeah.
I'm just saying. If she's like the one that the agents report to, I mean, you would. Okay, I personally feel that if you're going to have someone who's going to be the leader or director of something like this, like for example, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you have Coulson. Mm-hmm. Coulson was an agent before he became director.
Yes.
Fury was an agent before he became a director. It to me makes sense that someone who would become a director is someone who has experience to be able to tell these agents what to do and what to not do and what to how, because you're like, that gives them credibility because they've been through it themselves. But so the fact that she's like, I've never been a good shot, I'm like, that disappoints me.
How? Like, no, it's like, how will survive?
I don't know. I mean, then again, she was also a woman she was a spy when, women, I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, but it was okay.
I don't know. It was just like, it was just one of the moments that I was just like, oh, I wish you were a good shot.
Yeah, me too. You were saying about James Bond has or doesn't have superpowers, but according to Entertainment Weekly in 2009, they.
Wait, you sound cut off.
The second place, Indiana Jones, and third place, Spider-Man. He's a hero.
You might want to repeat that. The sound literally cut off. And then all I got was second, and then second is Indiana Jones, and in third place, Spider-Man. So there's a teeny bit that was missing. So I'm assuming what you were saying is that James Bond was first?
Yes. Entertainment Weekly in 2009 chose James Bond as the best Hollywood hero of all times. Mm-hmm. And then Indiana Jones, and third place, Spider-Man. Yeah.
Okay. So he's a hero. He's a hero. I don't know. I've never thought of James Bond as a hero. I thought of him as a good guy, but never thought of him as a hero. Definitely not a superhero because, no. There's no origins. There's no
superpowers.
No, but it's also not a comic book, Usually superheroes are like, comes from, I don't know. There's usually there's some form of power. Well, you can't really say it because there are characters who don't have powers who are still superheroes.
Yeah, like Batman.
I don't know. I guess because he's something I just never considered
James Bond as a hero.
James Bond as a hero or as a superhero. I always considered him as a good guy, just never a hero. I don't know why. I never thought of him as like a hero. I mean, he's a guy you root for. He's a guy who you want to win, and he's on the side of good, but
most time, because on the scene with the fire, I was kind of on the
questioning his intelligence.
No, I was cheering. Like torcendo. I was cheering for the fire because he was so stupid. I was kind of cheering for the fire.
Okay, you're rooting for the fire. I mean, I get it. I mean, that was a poor choice. That was a poor choice. Unless it's supposed to be a comedic moment, but they designed that he stops and waits to see if it happens, it's because it's like,
yeah, possibly.
Okay. Or maybe he was just worried it wasn't happening, which I get because he did it and left. But my reaction to it is, still, you can't risk going back because if it does happen, you're dead. Mm-hmm. But also where you stay, it's also dangerous. Shouldn't you maybe wait a little further?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That part bothered me. I'm like, okay. But something else I forgot to mention.
Adele?
What?
Adele, The Prices. Because this movie won the Oscar for best soundtrack. Not soundtrack.
Original song.
Yes, original song. And
Adele, yeah, Adele's Skyfall.
Yes, it's amazing. I love this music.
And also won Best Sound Editing, I think, as well.
Yes. And
I remember
won the BAFTA.
It was nominated for,
Best English British movie.
Yeah, and then it was also nominated for an Oscar for like cinematography and all these other things, but it won for sound editing and original song, which makes sense. I think that's not the first. That's not the first time a Bond movie has won Best Original Song. That song won. The song from Spectre won with Sam Smith. He won as well.
True.
I believe that was the year that they were doing the 50th anniversary. I forgot who sang it. I'm drawing a blank, and I probably should know who sang it. But they had the person who sang the original song for Goldfinger come in to sing that song. I believe that was the Oscar where she sang Goldfinger.
Oh.
Because, again, 50th anniversary, so they obviously had her come in to sing it.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Shirley Bassey is a singer for Goldfinger. So yeah, I think that was the Oscar. I don't know if that was that Oscar or the other one, but she came in to sing Goldfinger. This reminds me of something that you said before, I think in the Portuguese one, where you said that there's a person who hosted like the Oscars or did like an Oscar thing in Brazil, and they mentioned that all the songs sound similar.
Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of true, though. I mean, this one does kind of sound. I mean, that's from what I remember. They do have a certain like style to them, like a style of song. And they're all different in their own right, but they all have a similar style.
Yeah,
except
like the
for
movies.
Madonna's "Die Another Day." That one was a little. That one I felt was very different from the rest of them.
Yes.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like the songs are very as much a part of the movies as the movies themselves. Like they're iconic. Like each movie it's very iconic. What song was in it?
Yeah.
I mean, there are ones that are more well known than others, but
yeah. Yes, it's true. Yeah.
They're all really beautiful, though. Most of them. I mean, I don't know all of them, so I can't say. So I'm not going to say all of them are beautiful because I don't know. I know the ones that I've heard so far I've liked.
Yeah, but it's like 24 or something. 20 something.
There's a lot of songs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of songs.
Too much.
Yeah. But, so something else I want to comment on.
What?
Is, one, I think... You mentioned this you were telling me once about a director who they wanted to direct.
Oh, yes. According to Ian Fleming, the writer of the books, before they made the first movie, in his head, the perfect director for him would be Hitchcock,
which is an interesting choice.
Yes,
I wanted
this to be real because I really want to see this version of James Bond, but unfortunately we don't have Hitchcock anymore or Ian Fleming anymore.
Sean Connery, you'd have no one. I just think that it would have been interesting to have seen that. Because as far as I know, I don't think Hitchcock is very well known for doing horror or thrillers, right? Specifically, very like horror thriller. He directed Psycho.
Yes,
he was the original director of Psycho. Yeah, and like the one with birds.
Yes,
some other ones
with crowns. Corvos.
I don't know. Crows. Yeah.
Crows. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's well known for being like that thriller horror genre thing. So I would have been curious to see what he would have done. And I wonder if since Ian Fleming wanted him to direct, does that mean his books were supposed to be geared more towards a psychological thriller than an action type movie? Because I think even as the original, James. I mean, when Sean Connery was doing it. It wasn't funny, right? It wasn't. They had moments that were kind of funny and things like that. But as far as I understood it from an interview with Sean Connery, it didn't really become funny until Roger Moore, and then they added more comedic elements to it.
Yeah.
So does that mean that Ian Fleming's version of his view of his books were to be more thrillers, which is why he wanted Hitchcock, considering the fact that how the style of movies that Hitchcock makes are basically thrillers. So that would have been interesting to see.
Yeah, I think this makes sense, because if he wrote the book and he thought that Hitchcock would be the best choice, so yeah, it's a logical just to think that the books are more thrillers.
Yeah. Okay, the last thing I want to say, something I feel like I should have maybe done my research a little bit better.
What?
But doesn't matter. I'm making up for it now.
What?
As we mentioned in our complaints earlier on about how we want to see more diversity, we want to see more women be powerful, we love to see a Bond villain be a female, and how you said that Barbara Broccoli said that basically James Bond had to be a man. Well, apparently in the next movie, No Time to Die, they're going to be introducing a character I think her name is Nomi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And she is not only, her character is going to be important because she is going to be officially the new 007.
Oh, really? It's confirmed?
And, oh no, wait, there's more.
What?
There's more. She's going to be, not only is she the first female 007, she is the first black female 007.
Whoa! This is big. This is
so
big.
This also goes back to your theory. This actually kind of goes right back to your theory and your question. Is James Bond just a title? Because 007 obviously is a title.
Yes, it is.
007 obviously now is a title. But what becomes of her? What is her? Is she going to keep her name? And does that mean that Barbara Broccoli's theory, what she wanted, is true? James Bond is always going to be a male, but 007 can be a woman if you're separating the two?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because 007, I think, is a license.
Yeah.
To kill, like the name of the movie. There isn't.
Yeah, license to kill. I think it's just the name of the
agents.
They're like code names, right? Yeah, because there's like 00. I think in Russia from Love, I remember hearing like 003, 004.
So he's
the other ones.
The seventh one.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the best technically in our view, right? Our view of it. He's the best one, but he's number 7. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention. Lashana Lynch, who's going to be playing 007, right? Officially going to become the new 007. We've already seen her before.
Where?
Captain Marvel. She played the best friend.
Oh, I liked her so much in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm very, very happy. I'm very curious to see this. Sometime in the future. So we basically
now have to. Whenever No Time to Die finally comes out, we will be introduced to the new 007.
I want to
we're going to be saying goodbye. We're going to be saying goodbye to Daniel Craig, but we're going to be introduced. As much as, it's sad when there's a new James Bond leaves and a new one starts. It's sad because he didn't do a bad job, but I think this one for me is more exciting because,
it's a change.
It's a change. And what I like about it is that this change was made showing that the world hopefully was moving in the right direction, that because this happened rough. I think this movie was obviously filmed before the protests, before everything started really happening. So it's nice to know that, people were noticing that if you don't have diversity, if you have an all-white cast, if you don't have females, people are going to notice, and that they're taking that seriously. And it's good to see it moving forward in that way.
So the producers, the directors, they are paying attention to the world and how it's changing.
Yeah, I also have I wonder if this could also be something. It can also be something that Chadwick Boseman opened the door to with Black Panther.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice if you think about it. And sad, but nice. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. So I thought, it's kind of cool that we were saying, you can put someone like this and they're going to make a movie and they're going to sell and it's going to be okay. And I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah. That's the last thing I think. Besides the only other, I think that's the last thing I have to say.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that there's one more reference, I probably forgot to mention about the nod to the classic the James Bond in the Skyfall, which is when he hands Tanner the shrapnels from his shoulder. Shoulder, means pronounce this correctly. He says for her eyes only, which is a reference to the movie For Your Eyes Only. So yeah, they did a lot of reference. They did it very well referencing the movies.
The movie is a big reference to the other movies.
Yeah. Okay. But it's also done in a way that's not like constantly banging it over the head that we have to do everything be a reference. Yes. So I thought that they had a very nice balance.
Sure.
Of bringing back the nostalgia, keeping it new, keeping it relevant, but also being kind of a love letter to the originals in a way, or where it started, like where of its origins. And I thought that was that was a nice touch. And of course, the last thing I think I want to say is that we need to also make sure we honor Sean Connery, who unfortunately passed away last month. Because without him, we wouldn't really, maybe would have had all these Bond movies, because he's the one who started it all. We would have the books, of course, or we wouldn't have had this 58-year movie franchise.
Yeah, so wherever you are, thank you for James Bond, and thank you for your amazing career.
Yes.
Because there is a lot of other movies that is really good.
He's had a very impressive career. He's also, to many people, their Bond, like the perfect Bond is him. I can't say, because I haven't seen enough Bond movies to say which one is my Bond. I grew up with Pierce Brosnan and, of course, Daniel Craig. So, but either way, without him, we wouldn't have had these movies. So, thank you. Sure. And also, I think he helped inspire Daniel Craig's Bond too. Because the more serious tone of these group of movies comes from the original being a more serious one. So, yeah, I think we're going to leave our episode there. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed our discussion on Bond. Most specifically Skyfall. Follow us on all the things, and by that I mean listen to us wherever you find wherever you can listen to podcasts. Subscribe, follow, review, follow us on Instagram at primanerdpodcast.com. Wow, Prima Nerd Podcast. No. I'm getting tired. Sorry about that, people.
Prima Nerd Podcast. No, you mash up the.
I'm saying too much.
The Instagram.
Yeah, I jumped ahead. So it's Prima Nerd Podcast on Instagram at Prima Nerd Podcast, and then our email is primanerd2@gmail.com. So you can reach us there, send us emails, let us know what you think, feedback, suggestions, reviews, constructive criticism. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you think and what how we're doing, and what maybe think. Yeah, it's very important. We want to know what you guys think. Yeah. Thanks again for listening.
So see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and hopefully by then we'll have a special announcement that we're doing. Hopefully,
if
everything goes right.
Wait for it.
Should be good. If it all works out, it should be great. Yeah. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.